Hello and welcome to Power Through Transition. My name's Shelley James and it's a great pleasure to welcome Catherine Rogers, who's sitting in her study in Oxfordshire. And Catherine began as a mental health practitioner, but had a really interesting journey where she noticed that there were some things in mental health practice that weren't really supporting her clients to make the changes that they could make. So Catherine has set up a remarkable project, which is now being recognised by the NHS in the UK, to get the whole medical profession to understand the power of the gut and what you eat on your well-being in general. And this is a great time when we're all eating mince pies and drinking too much to kind of think again about that. And Catherine's got some really powerful and useful things to say, including, so I'm just going to point you now to her website and her book, and then we'll do that again at the end. So I believe the book is called Gut Well Soon.
Yep, the book is Gut Well Soon.
And the website is Reset Your Health.
Yeah, Reset Your Health, absolutely, because you can with what you eat.
So, yeah, tell us more about that, Catherine, please.
Well, I'll tell you about how I got there. It was a transition journey, absolutely. So I've been working in mental health for 20 years, and I just, it's like a realization that talking therapies aren't the whole deal. And the people who paid attention to those bog standard things, the exercise, the food, socialization, stress reduction, their mental health, if they had, for example, depression or anxiety, just got better a lot quicker. And the more I did it, and the more I realized the connection between the gut-brain axis and the brain, I started researching that. And at the same time, I had quite a stroppy sort of young 12-year-old who said to me, well, Mummy, why should I do this? And why should I do that? And so I started writing little blogs for her every Sunday, as you do as a mum. And then I wanted to set up this business called MAP Health Solutions, mental and physical. So I wanted to only work with people really who wanted to address both. Mm-hmm. And I'd done all these blogs, and I was setting up a website, and I said to the website person, I said, oh, can I just put these blogs on? And there were 45 of them. And he said, Catherine, that's a book. And you must go see a publisher. And 2 years later, I've got a fully referenced book. You know, there's 60 to 70 academic references each chapter. I've taken a very middle road. I've sort of taken things that have come on the media and dismantled them. And it's been a really interesting process. Then, while I was writing the book, I had this moment, another transition, where I'm saying, it's just words. There's lots of books out there. And I am totally passionate about what I've done next. It's an online program called, it's more from Reset Your Gut Health to just Reset Your Health. And it's so powerful. The algorithms are amazing. You basically, as an individual, you can log on and say how you eat. I have no judgment. You can be a vegetarian who doesn't eat celery. You can be a meat eater who doesn't like chicken. Honestly, it doesn't matter. And once you've decided how you eat, it's really simple. You then say what your health condition is. And it could be as simple as, I want to improve my general health. It could be migraines and depression. And I've worked with dietitians and nutritionists and doctors to get the parameters of what they suggest people with those conditions should eat. Mm-hmm. And it will produce 4 weeks worth of recipes that you can follow. You don't have to do it in 4 weeks. It's not like a really heavy sort of diet thing, but it suggests, if you have high cholesterol, what you would eat. If you had high blood pressure, what you would eat. For me, if you have, my patients and clients, depression and anxiety, and it's really powerful. We've tested it with people for 18 months and had amazing results. And most recently, I showed it to a doctor who's doing something for GPs for in their surgeries to enable them to deprescribe. And he's really excited to trial it. So if someone walks into a surgery who's nearly diabetic, he can say, go and do this for 4 weeks. and it's really affordable. All the food is we've got a seasonal version coming out. You can get it from markets, or you can get it from bog standard supermarkets. It's so exciting, and there's a really exciting bit which is a bit nerdy, but I've connected it to automated shopping lists. So all this flipping through cookery books, I mean, I thought of the mental health aspect. What stops people doing this?
Yeah.
And I think we are an instant society. So there's an automatic shopping list. So if you choose to do it for 3 days, it will amalgamate all the tomatoes you need and put it in one place. And we're now working with connecting that to supermarkets. But there's only me, and I need somebody else to help me, someone who's out there, who's amazing at technology. Yeah.
I'm sure you'll find that, because it's just such a powerful thing. I've certainly logged on and done that for myself, and all the suggestions were a little bit, I suppose perhaps I wasn't quite ready to kind of
categorize,
but certainly so many really valuable tips, and getting closer to, I mean, it was suggesting things that I know work well for me, and I guess it's the kind of encouragement and support to say, know what you know and actually use that, because you really do feel a difference, for sure.
And what I noticed with working with people with mental health issues, and I think it applies to the general public, is they sort of know what to do, but they don't know how to do it. And this just does it for you. And I take your point about individual health conditions, and that's part of the journey. I mean, the Celiac Society have just asked me to produce a 4-week plan for theirs. An anaesthetist who doesn't like the idea of carb loading before surgery has just asked me to do one pre-surgery. So this is a journey. This won't get launched after the trial next January, February. It will be journey. You know, people will come back to me and say, oh my gosh, I've got this. And I'll say, so what have you been told you've got to eat? And they'll tell me. And then the algorithm will work out recipes, and they log on and they get them, and hey presto. I'm really excited about it as an idea. And I'm also made it incredibly affordable. You know, it's £48 for lifetime access, and also considering going non-profit, because I just think it's one of those things where maybe you shouldn't be profiting from it. So I'm in the process of taking advice.
That's fantastic. I mean, it does sound as though small changes in your diet can make a massive difference in how you feel. And I guess around Christmas, when life's so stressful, difficult already, whether it be to do with relationships or money.
I think you just froze. I didn't.
Add some sort of fast sugars in there, and some alcohol, and some kind of eating on the run, and lots of sandwiches. It's not surprising that we kind of get even more frazzled. So it's really...
Yeah, and you know, I had a neighbour who was vegan. Now that is termed a healthy diet, but you know, a lot of people who are vegans don't eat healthily. They don't get the macronutrients, the protein, the carbs, the fat in their diet. She took it on, sort of like, well, you know. Anyway, she did it, and now her children say she's like Jim Carrey on speed, whereas before she was exhausted. And the most important thing is, you know, people don't understand, for example, in menopause, it's so much important to have more protein. And, you know, well, vegans is a really good example. You need B12, and it sorts all that out for you.
That's amazing. I mean, I guess, having gone through menopause myself, I guess the dilemma was, your body's changing. You're thinking, well, I don't want to get sort of middle-aged spread. How do I do that? And sort of feel as if proteiny foods tend to be ones which you think are sort of fattening, and particularly on a bit of a budget, you think, oh, you know, I can't afford that. So
I mean, the thing is about the only thing that will put fat on categorically are carbs. That's the thing that will put weight on. Fat won't, and protein won't. If you eat a lot of carbs, you know, that's where you'll get your middle-aged spread. But it doesn't mean to say you wouldn't eat carbs and vegetables. Yeah, but it sort of doesn't talk about it. It just does it for you. Yeah. And because then people are feeling better, they're like, this works. So it's a lifestyle. It's a transition.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, the question is, if I've been eating kind of unhealthy, kind of fast food and what you call white foods, which I think is a really great way of categorizing those. If I've been doing that for years and years, and here I am sort of like with late
Well,
15s, almost, I mean, is it too late? Have I blown it? I might as well just dive into the crisps again, or what do you think?
well, 89% of us will get a chronic inflammatory condition. Some of us will die of it, obesity, diabetes, we won't die of arthritis, but it's painful. It's absolutely never too late. I've had a 75-year-old do this, and she's a different woman. Her grandchildren say, Granny can run now. They're anecdotal, but the evidence behind, so my individual case is anecdotal, but the evidence behind that is if you remove inflammatory foods, which are sugars, and they are trans fat, and it will be tough, which is one of the reasons why it's 4 weeks worth of recipes. So, quite often if you go into a full-on diet, it's so tough you give up. Whereas this is like, here's 4 weeks worth. So do it for 3 days. And oh my God, if you need that donut, do it on the 4th day. But I imagine, first few days you might get headaches. You might have a funny tummy. But it's just to encourage you to incorporate those recipes into your life, because even one meal, your microbiome in your gut, you can't see my gut, changes every 10 minutes.
Wow.
So they're bacteria. So even one meal that's appropriate to your condition can do you no harm, and cumulatively would do you a lot of good.
That's amazing. So it sounds as though and I think we talked before about the sort of 80-20 rule. So as long as you're broadly on track, that the 20 sort of mince pies and mulled wine and stuff isn't going to, it's kind of,
and if you're going to a friend's party, have champagne, children's birthday, they want you to have their cake, do it. It's a question of just shifting it so it is 80-20. Because what I see in my work is the white food, especially with depression. Overwhelmingly, I work with a student who was, on the IAP scale, which is the NHS scale, was off the scale. He was suicidal, and we did simple approach where it was walking for 30 minutes, removing white food, because he was no way he was going to be able to do the program at that stage, because he was depressed, seriously depressed, and attending and eating with people at lunchtime and dinner. I didn't force breakfast on him. And there was a journey, but within 12 weeks, he had come right down to 6, which is just subclinical. And it was definitely him saying, apart from the talking therapies we did, he did lifestyle interventions himself.
That's really impressive. And I think, as you said, once you start to feel a bit better, then it can become a sort of a virtuous circle. And I'm just thinking that for a lot of us, the people, we end up eating with people or cooking with people, and I'm wondering how you
I thought about that because a lot of people who go on diets then can't eat with their family, but there's amazing shepherd's pie, but it's got a sweet potato on the top rather than so I've thought about the mental health aspect, that if you can bring somebody along with you, with your family, and make them meals that you want to do it, but you can bring them with you, and then you sit and eat with them. If you eat on your own, it's not as possible, but you can go out with someone, and you choose. Even when you go out, there's guidelines. So it's certainly not possible. It's totally possible to work and to socialize and to achieve this. Absolutely.
So you've thought of every angle which might make us kind of go, oh well, it's not for me. I mean, I know that from having looked at the recipes, and you've really thought it through as a person who's been through this themselves.
Well, hopefully I have. I mean, if anybody can think of any other angle, always open to feedback. If they log on to Reset Your Health and they say, oh, there's this health condition and you haven't thought of that, just email me, because honestly, feedback in the last 18 months, 2 years has been the most powerful thing.
Yeah, and that's why it works so well for real human beings, and not just the sort of a spreadsheet or a business idea, which is phenomenal, which is great. And it sounds like you're going to go from strength to strength, both in yourself but also in your business, which is great. And I guess that's the other point I wanted to make, is that you weren't kind of a spring chicken kind of Silicon Valley person when you started this. You, in a sense, already had your career, and this has been a kind of a new a second phase in your life. And I just
That's a really, really interesting point. I'm 58 this December, you know, when this goes out, I probably will be 58. And I was chosen to go and do a program at Oxford University for women entrepreneurs because they weren't getting enough people apply to their programs, and I'd done a postgrad there. And 1 in 100 women were applying. So they were trying to encourage people. And when I walked into the room to do the program to encourage the women to apply, everybody else was under 30.
I know that
and I've had vertical learning curves about SEOs, but I had an amazing time. I now have in the back of my head, I have a venture capital pitch. So that if I suddenly meet someone who I think, because I need investment, I can't do this anymore without investment, to help me with technology, the marketing, and staff. I've learned that, late in the day. Recently I did a careers seminar for a school, and I did a Dragon's Den situation where they had to judge whether they would give me money. And the response from the pupils was amazing. They were sort of saying, "You've done so much, you did law, you did..." Anyway, I won't go through I said, I've done things I'm passionate about. And it really doesn't matter about my age, but I am, yeah.
What a great way to kind of round up this interview, because it's a fabulous example of how following your passion and doing good in the world, and doing that with generosity, but also bringing all of your wealth of experience to all of your years on this planet makes what you have to offer now so much richer than it might have been had you started earlier, I guess. So it's never too late, both to change, kind of reset your health using, but also to reset your views on what you can do in the world.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I never would have imagined I'd be sitting here talking to you and your audience, but I feel very congruent. I feel like it's a good thing to be doing.
Well, I know it is, because I've certainly enjoyed having a look at those recipes, and I'm going to be steering clear of the mince pies as much as I can. But my 80-20 rule is lodged in my mind. So, Catherine, thank you very much. I think if we log on, are you able to just remind us of the book? And
okay, so the book is Gut Well Soon. So it's a pun on gut, on get. And the course is called Reset Your Health. And it is based on the information in the book. But, log on and have a look. There's free trials every now and again. Just have a look and just go on the register page and see if it would suit you.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to feeling healthier and more full of beans than I already am.
Yeah, absolutely.